Welcome back to the Unpack Mindset, folks. My name is Jesse, your host. I got a video for you guys today, and let's check it out.
Price average. We spoke with Daniel Yergin recently, who said because of the decisions that California Governor Gavin Newsom has made, it actually has made California the worst performing state in the middle of this war. I mean, he's escalating his ongoing feud with Chevron right now, urging drivers to boycott the oil giant during the Memorial Day travel weekend. He wrote on X, quote, "Pro tip. Unbranded gas comes from the same refineries, storage tanks, and pipelines, and it meets the same state standards to keep your engine running clean. Big oil is already making billions off of Trump's Iran war. Don't let them rip you off even more by overpaying for the brand name." But then the U.S. Oil and Gas Association fired back, writing this, "Pro tip, don't take pro tips from a politician who hasn't driven himself anywhere since 2004. Now, the Post also prompting a response from Steve Hilton, who said Gavin Newsom is telling Californians to boycott Chevron because they're ripping you off. It's not the oil companies ripping us off in California. It's Gavin Newsom and the Democrats. I mean, Joel, let's face it. Gavin Newsom has made so many decisions to put California in a terrible spot when it comes to gas and oil. He's pushed aggressive anti-carbon rules. He's got refinery oversight. He's got EV mandates. He's got drilling restrictions. All of this has sent gas prices up above $6 a gallon, Joel.
Right. And it's all in service of the left green climate change mythology, right, where even if you assume everything is true about climate change theory, there's nothing that California can really do about it. The emissions from California on any given day are completely dwarfed by the growing emissions from China and from India. Oh, and by the way, every time Gavin Newsom allows a forest to burn in California, the carbon emissions from the state wipe out all the gains from higher gas prices, less driving, more EVs on the road, switching from natural gas to electric homes. And all of this is just ideology trumping common sense. The governor posted over the weekend that he wants President Trump to lower the price of gas, yet the governor refuses to lower the gas tax in California or suspend the gas tax in California to ease the pressure on California drivers. And that's by design. The left in California wants people to drive less, to use less fuel. Oh, and by the way, if you do happen to switch to an electric vehicle, now they want to tax you for miles traveled. So you're not actually saving by moving from gas to electric. They're going to get you one way or another. That's the problem with California, targeting businesses, targeting consumers. Yeah. It's not good.
That's true. Let me ask you about the California Post, Joel. How has it resonated in California?
Well, I think what you're seeing is people are suddenly aware that there are political alternatives. I don't think it's an accident that you've got a possibility of a Republican candidate for governor this year, possibly a Republican/independent mayor. And that's because there is suddenly a media alternative. You know, one thing the New York Post and the California Post do is they mock politicians. They have fun. We have satirical headlines, puns. We make fun of politicians. We remind people that these are not gods walking the earth, that these people are mockable. And that restores them to some level of accountability. And that's what makes it work.
Absolutely. Joel.
You know what, folks? You know, we're living in an era, right, where we have access to all the information that we want, right? So the days of being a political chump are over, man. You can find all this information out for yourself, right? California's gas prices, they're not an accident. They're a pattern. Let's talk about something every Californian feels long before they reach the ballot box, and that's taxes, potholes, the price at the gas pump. Right now, Governor Gavin Newsom is telling drivers to avoid Chevron. Come on, man. Like, I mean, are people really that stupid? It's as if a problem is a single logo on a single gas station canopy, right? Like, let's be honest, folks. It that's not the truth. It almost seems like California politicians right now, they rely on low information voters, right? You know, and this is not even the story that's a distraction. California's gas prices, they're not a mystery. We all have access to all this information, right? It's a pattern. It's a pattern of decisions, policies, and missing accountability that keeps repeating like a broken record that nobody in Sacramento wants to fix, right? It's like avoid Chevron, really. That's the plan. That's your plan. It's the taxes, folks. It's the regulations. It's the special fuel blend. It's the refinery bottlenecks, right? It's the state's own policies driving the prices up, and we all knew about this. I mean, if you're going out there and you're saying that the conflict in Iran stirred got the prices to go up, you haven't been paying attention for the last couple of years, because everybody that was following this knew that this was coming. And here's the uncomfortable part about it, right? Even if you don't like Chevron or the math doesn't lie. California gas is exponentially higher than most every other state. Sometimes by $1.50, $2 per gallon, sometimes all the way up to $3. And the gap doesn't magically appear because Chevron woke up with they decided they wanted to be greedy on a Tuesday, right? So I feel like when the governor tells you to avoid Chevron, you really have to ask yourself, is he protecting my wallet, or is he protecting a narrative that he's been carrying for the last, I don't know, since he's been in office, right? I mean, because here's the question: if avoiding Chevron is the solution, why is gas still sky high in every other gas station too, right? Why is the California premium baked into the price no matter where you go? Why does the state with the highest gas taxes, highest regulatory costs, and the most isolated fuel market, act shocked when the prices explode, right? I feel like to be a political chump in this era, man, you really just not paying attention, man. You're just not paying attention. This isn't about Chevron, man. It's about a pattern. It's a pattern that we've seen before, right? Look at the Palisades fire, missing money, right? Millions allocated, millions spent, and somehow no one can explain the money that actually went, or why the community was left holding the bag, right? There was people that will never recover from the Palisades. Not everybody that lived in the Palisades was rich, folks. There was people that bought into that area, a long time ago, and then they stayed there, right? But they didn't have the funds to recover, so they had to just go elsewhere, right? And look at the bridge to nowhere, right? It was a project that ballooned into a symbol of like California's spending problem and promises, big budgets, and somehow there was no results. Billions of dollars are spent in homelessness, funding unaccounted for. I mean, year after year, folks, year after year, the crisis gets worse. Year after year, the spending increases. And year after year, the governor tells us that the real problem is somebody else. I mean, I feel like the governor is a master of deflection. He never really answers the question. Because his hustle is hustling you. It's a big scam, man. Chevron, oil companies, refineries, big oil, anyone but the people actually writing the checks and signing the budgets. How many times, right? How many times can a government blame someone else before people start asking, hey, where's the money, man? Why does every crisis in California end with more spending and fewer results? You know, why are we told to avoid Chevron, right? Instead of asking why Californians pay the highest gas taxes in the country, man. Highest taxes, period. You know, the cost of living here is astronomical. Why does the state demand, why does the state demand accountability from corporations, but never from itself? You know, how many billions have to disappear? Come on, folks, before someone in Sacramento says enough. You know, and the biggest one, the governor can tell you which gas station to avoid. Why can't he tell you where the money went? You know, I don't know, folks. I mean, it's just if we just even try to dive into this a little bit, we'll begin to realize that everybody in California is getting scammed. California doesn't have a gas problem, folks. California has an accountability problem. And the gas prices are just a receipt. So the next time someone tells you avoid Chevron, ask them why the state keeps avoiding the truth. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. If you like my content, folks, like, subscribe, and share, and have a good day. See you tomorrow.